There we are. And so we say good morning to our Facebook family that is joining us via live stream this morning, via Facebook Live. Greetings and welcome to the Monterey Center for Spiritual Living. We are so delighted that you have joined us for our Sunday celebration service today. Our inspirational message this morning is a continuation of and support for our annual overarching theme for the entire year of 2021. And that theme is timeless wisdom, evolutionary vision, which really is the hallmark in the tradition of science of mind and new thought. We rely on the timeless wisdom of the sages and the mystics and the elders that have gone before us. And we also know that as people of vision, that the evolutionary aspect of vision is always propelling us and moving us forward and moving us upward. Our theme for the month of February is One Journey, Many Paths. And today's inspirational message is the infinite invisible. And so just a little share, this past week, I found myself worrying about how I might feel on Friday, this past Friday, the 12th. This day marked the 5th anniversary of my wife Greer's decision to step off of the mortal plane into the next grand adventure of her life, that which we call the eternal life. And as I was reflecting back on that, it was as if I was trying to mentally create something. And I had no idea what this something was going to be. It was like this anticipation and this anxiety. And what I became aware of is that I was engaging in low-level energy thoughts. Notice the words that I was using. I was worrying. I was worrying about how I might feel. Or I was trying to create an experience that just wasn't there to be created. And so the good news is the day unfolded in perfect order. Of course, I was mindful of the personal significance of the day for me, and yet I went along with my usual Friday routine. You know how we get into, or at least I get into days where I have certain things that I do on certain days? Well, Friday is farmer's market where I live. And so I got up, my morning spiritual practices, and then I went to the farmer's market. And there's a flower vendor that I like, and he had little bouquets of real tiny baby roses. And so I bought a bouquet of roses for my at-home altar. And I usually buy fresh flowers to have in my space. I went to the grocery store and, the other usual Friday stuff that I engage in. Family members did go and visit the gravesite, and they shared pictures and videos. And what I really appreciated out of the video that really lifted my heart was the young ones, the great-grands, as they were placing flowers at their grandmother's headstone. I could hear their little comments, and we have a total of 6 great-grands, and 3 of the 6 were there, and 2 of those 6 had the experience of being with her while she was in this plane of expression. And so it was just wonderful to see them and to see the family and to know that love is all abound. What I would like to do is take a moment to just honor Greer's memory this morning. And I'm going to read from The Love Book by John Randolph Price. And for those of you who participated in the 40-day prosperity plan, we use the Abundance book, which is by John Randolph Price. So he has a nice selection of books. And this is actually a rendition of the love chapter. I call it the love chapter in the book of Corinthians. I think it's the second Corinthians 13. Some of my Bible scholars can check me on that. But this is what John Randolph Price writes for that scripture. If I speak with the eloquence of men and of angels, but have not love, I become no more than a blaring brass or a crashing cymbal. If I have the gift of foretelling the future and hold in my mind not only all human knowledge, but the very secrets of God, and if I also have absolute faith which can move mountains, but I have no love, then I amount to nothing at all. If I dispose of all that I possess, yes, even if I give my own body to be burned and have no love, I achieve nothing. This love of which I speak is slow to lose patience. It looks for a way of being constructive. It is not passive. It is neither anxious to impress, nor does it cherish inflated ideas of its own importance. Love has good manners and does not pursue selfish advantage. It is not touchy. It does not keep account of evil or gloat over the wickedness of other people. On the contrary, it is glad with all good men and women when truth prevails. Love knows no limit to its endurance, no end to its trust, no fading of its hope. It can outlast anything. It is, in fact, the only thing that still stands when all else has fallen. And so I salute you, Greer, with your favorite scripture. And so today, we are exploring this idea of the infinite invisible. We are encouraged to move from thinking of the divine to feeling and experiencing it. This idea of the infinite invisible is very active. And so the invitation again is to move from thinking of the divine and to actually feel it, to experience it, to be fully aware of the mystical experiences that transcend any one path, any one religion, or any one tradition. Joel Goldsmith invites us to put into practice what you already know as a means of having prayers answered. When we speak of mystical living, it is not something that is intellectually achieved. The mystic lives the mystical experience by letting God be God as them. I'll say that again. The mystic lives the mystical experience by letting God be God, expressing in and through each individual. This is the result of living in what I call a heart-centered space rather than a head-centered space. And this requires something else that I call creating a partnership or companioning with the ego. Quite often people will say they have a challenge or a difficulty in meditation or being in the stillness. It's just very uncomfortable, and the mind just really wanders in and calls up its to-do list, its do's and don'ts, it's whatever the mind does. And quite often, that is the ego that is rebelling against the silence because it's something that it doesn't know. And so when we companion with the ego, when we invite it into partnership, when we invite it into that sacred inner space, we're making it safe for the ego. Remember, the ego is designed to protect us. And so when we create that safe environment and invite it into that safe space, then we open ourselves to a much deeper mystical experience. From the perspective of science of mind, we learn that to the degree that we are open, willing, and receptive to being partners with God, our lives will then demonstrate the divine relationship. Again, it's about partnership. As we become open, willing, and receptive to being partners with God, our lives can and will demonstrate the divine relationship. We recognize the infinite that resides in us, as us, and through us. And it is in that recognition that the infinite itself can celebrate through us. Remember, this is the divine partnership. We celebrate, we recognize, and we invite the infinite to partner with us. And out of that agreement, out of that partnership agreement, the infinite expresses through us. We experience God as source. We know that intellectually. When we partner with the infinite, then we experience God as our source, everywhere equally present and always fully active. We experience God as presence, that innate connection, that wondrous creativity, that experience that moves us into the awareness of limitless possibility, radiant inspiration, and perfect order. Isn't that a good feeling? Doesn't it feel good to know that as we partner with the infinite, as we partner with God, that this innate connection, this wondrous creativity and limitless possibility opens us up and everything flows in perfect order. And so this invites the question, what is our part? How do we do this? And the answer is to listen, just to listen. And so you may ask, okay, well, how do I listen? What is the experience of listening? What is it that I have to do? Listening invites us to be first, to be aware of the indwelling presence that is the essence of who we are. And then there's an activity or activities that we may engage in to activate that inner process. And I'll offer 3 of those to you this morning. The first one is to recognize that there is a divine yes within each and every one of us that will not be denied. We may try and run from it. We may try and hide from it. We may counteract with a no, not now. No, I'm not doing that, whatever arguments we come up with. But that divine yes that is within each and every one of us will not be denied. It is the yes that leads to love and joy and challenge and growth and the ongoing soul's calling of our heart's desire. And sometimes this may first appear as a curiosity or an interest. What is this little spark inviting me to just pay attention to this morning? What is there in my surroundings that is catching my eye? What am I to pay attention to? What curiosity is being piqued in me? And then out of that curiosity is the pull to grow and to know more. And we learn to listen through our regular spiritual practices that bring us trust, hope, and vision. This infinite invisible, this yes may announce itself as joy, as peace, as pain, or as loss. Remember, our invitation is to embrace all of life, not just that which feels good and try and disconnect or discount that which does not feel good. We live life in totality. And so when we allow ourselves to be open to experience all that life offers to us, then that greater yes that is within us acknowledges and responds to our yes. So it's our yes saying to yes. Joel Goldsmith writes this for us in The Art of Meditation. In going within, we do not turn to our own spirituality. We do not turn to our own goodness. We do not turn to our own strength or our own knowledge, but we go within to unleash the infinite invisible. It's that essence of who we are that is awaiting to be activated just by our merely inviting it to activate itself. The second way to listen is another activity, and that is we dance with the divine. When we engage with our heart's natural tendency to grow in awareness and delight and understanding, that's when we actually move from head to heart. And I saw this definition of head to heart that really resonated with me. It's one of the better ones that I've seen in a while. And it says, moving from head to heart means trusting feelings and imagination. We're trusting our feelings and our imagination. And that really is the heart of our very essence. And when we take that very short trip, if you measure it in external terms, the shortest distance is the head to the heart. And yet it is the longest journey that we travel, as often is said. Neville Goddard uses imagination as his way of defining God. And so we recognize that imagination is the connection with God when we move from our head to our heart, and we trust our feelings and our imagination. Now, you may ask, what gets in the way of our dancing with the Spirit? And I have an answer for you. Funny that. What gets in the way is our fear of the past, as well as our fear of the future. Another thing that gets in the way of moving from our head to heart to trusting our feelings and our imagination is accepting someone else's judgment of ourself, or taking on their victimhood and acquiescing to their desires. And another way of disconnecting ourselves or getting what gets in the way of dancing with the Spirit is our own self-judgment. We can get into that place of woe is me, or I can have my own personal pity party. Whatever it is that the self-judgment that comes up, that is something that keeps us from dancing full out with the Spirit. And so as we begin to release this clutter from our minds, think of it this way. When we release clutter from our living space, if we clean out our closet, or if we rearrange furniture so that the space is more open, we have an appreciation for the spaciousness, because it is in that spaciousness that invention, reinvention, and innovation comes through. And this is what releasing mind clutter does for us. When we dance with the divine, we open to the invitation, we open to the divine's invitation to reinvent, to express our creativity, and to recognize that we live in a field of limitless possibilities. Dancing with the divine allows us to let go and to lighten the load of who we thought we were and become the magnificent I, you, we, that we already are right here and right now. In Creative Mind and Success, Ernest Holmes writes this: we must become the thing that we want. We must see it, think it, feel it, before the creative power of mind can work it out for us. I'll share that again. We must become the thing that we want. This is where our imagination kicks in. We must see it, we must think it, and we must realize it before the creative power of mind can work its work through us. And the third way of listening is to recognize that I am the divine now. And I invite you to say this silently with me. If we were in live space, I would ask us to say it out loud together. But with the technology, it just would not feel right. It wouldn't sound right. And so I invite you to say this silently in your own mind. I am the divine now. My uniqueness, my gifts, and my dreams are all awaiting me to wake up and accept my divinity. And I wish that my own personal creativity had kicked in a little bit earlier. I would have had for you a big stop sign, because in my notes I have the word stop, and it's highlighted in red. Stop, stop, stop auditioning for life. Stop auditioning for life. Instead, prepare for life. Be the vehicle for Spirit's magnificent expression. And we do this through study, and through practice, and strengthening our skills where necessary. I love our Saturday morning visioning calls, and I invite those of you who have not yet joined us to please do so. The information is in our newsletter. During our visioning call yesterday, the image of a toolkit emerged. And this toolkit contained more than a hammer. And of course, we chuckled about this because those of us who have been engaged in spiritual practice for a while and have had the illustration of a toolkit, if all you have in your toolkit is a hammer, and you go through life with this one tool, and everything that comes across life, you hit it with a hammer, whether it's something that is affirmative, whether it's something that is not affirmative. You hit it with the hammer because that's the only tool that you have. But through our study, through our practice, we strengthen our skills and we add to our tool chest. We may add a little sweetness. We may add a little tenderness. We may add a little compassion. We may add a little bit more love. We may add a screwdriver. We may add a wrench. We may add a saw. Whatever it is that invites us to recognize that all that we require, all that we need is within us right now and is also available in the external. This is the value of having the spiritual toolkit as well as the physical toolkit that has more than just a hammer. I am, you are, we are worthy now. I am, you are, we are worthy now. We are all pre-approved for our highest good right now. Think of that. Think of when you've applied for a loan to purchase a car or to purchase a home or to start a business or to rent an apartment or even to apply for a credit card. And the message comes back that you have been pre-approved. Think of this as how Spirit looks at us. We are pre-approved for our highest good right now. And the mystical journey is calling us to an agreement to let go. The mystical journey is inviting us to be still and to hear that inner voice that is saying, lighten the load of who you thought you were and become the magnificent you that you already are here and now. Yes, this requires work. In order to grow, work is required. And in this growth process, we will experience setbacks, we'll experience opportunities to do over, we'll experience gains, and we'll experience unfoldment. Again, this is all the totality of life. And so when we get out of the way and we let God be God, we shine as a beloved creation in whom the universe is well pleased. Quite often we say in our teaching, I'm going to get out of the way and let God be God. What does that really mean? What does that really, really mean? And so this is what I offer this morning. For myself, when I say I'm going to get out of the way and let God be God, it means that I have released all attachments to the outcome of whatever it is that is facing me. And I am in that divine flow. I know that I have tools in my toolkit that allow me to be in the divine flow. And when I get out of the way, God works it out way greater, way more greater than I could ever have worked it out myself. And so, as we come to a conclusion of our time together for this portion of the service this morning, I just offer this little recap. Life requires agreement and participation. Life is not a spectator event. It requires our participation and our agreement to be full out, to play full out in this game called life. And so I invite you to begin now to ask yourself, what brings me joy and inspires a feeling of possibility and energy? And then prepare for the demonstration, prepare for the manifestation. Thinking of our teaching symbol, the top part is the spirit, where the seed of thought is planted into the middle part, which is the fertile soil of the soul, where it is nourished and grows. And the bottom part of the teaching symbol is the manifestation of the demonstration, where it's the results of the seed. As we teach the children in junior church, there's the seed, the soil, and the plant. So the seed that is planted is that seed that says, God is, I am. And it is planted into that fertile soil that just says yes. And what manifests in our life is gratitude, is a demonstration of being a partner with the beloved source. What demonstrates in our life is our beliefs and our daily intent and our daily follow through to create and culture the nature of awareness of the infinite impossible, of the infinite invisible, not the infinite impossible. We become aware of the infinite invisible that is within each and every one of us. And so I offer this call to action as a daily spiritual practice. And that is to find one thing, just one thing, find one thing, and daily do it with love, with intention, and passion. And it will guide you to the next step, and to the next step, and to the next step. And before you know it, the demonstration is right there. You become aware of the demonstration and the manifestation and the beauty of spirit. Again, find one thing, do it with love, intention, and passion. And then a practical activity that may support you with this is to set your phone, your watch, or any other timing device that you would use to alert you every hour to say to yourself, God in me, through me, and as me is me. God in me, through me, and as me is me. And I've asked our tech team to put this in the chat box. And for those of you who are familiar with using chat, you know, there are three little dots over to the side. And if you click on those dots, it will save it. And so our one sentence affirmation that we can go through this week with is, with trust, joy, and delight, I let God be God in me. With trust, joy, and delight, I let God be God in me. And so now I invite us to turn within as we pray together, knowing that the divine essence of love, the divine essence of spirit, is absolutely all that there is. We gather this morning on this day that is called Valentine's Day, the day that is set aside as love, or as one of our participants so lovingly described this morning as Heart's Day. And when we think about Heart's Day, we move from just one day of celebration to a lifetime of celebration of the heart, the heartbeat of God that is expressing in and through and as us, this expression of divine love. And so I speak my word, blessing each one who has joined us this morning, who has joined us via our Zoom call, who has joined us via Facebook Live, and to all who will be watching this at a different time, where it is convenient for their schedule, and for those who may be rewatching it to just get some additional encouragement and find another tool to put into their toolkit. For I know that the Spirit of the living one, the Spirit of love, the Spirit of the creative essence, this energy that all that there is absolutely all that there is. And so I bless our fellow Centers for Spiritual Living, our Science of Mind centers, our New Thought centers, our Christian partners, our Buddhist partners, our Muslim partners, all other faith traditions where people are gathering, recognizing that this mystical experience is open and available to everyone, that it is not limited by a dogma or a tradition or a set of prescribed practices. It is open and available to all. And I know this is how love shines forth. And I speak my word this morning, lifting, opening my heart, opening that container of compassion for everyone who is experiencing a transition in their life. However that transition may be showing up. It may be the transition of a loved one, and that memory is coming forth. It may be the welcoming of a new life, and that excitement is coming forth. It may be a family member, a beloved one who is preparing to step off of this mortal plane into the eternal plane, joining the ancestors, living in the realm of life eternal, living in that non-local space where their presence is always with us. Like the Spirit of God, like the Spirit of the living one, it is always a presence and never an absence. For those who may be experiencing a transition in their financial circumstances, in my article in the newsletter, I wrote about expansion and contraction. It is all a part of the life experience. For those who are experiencing health, wealth, abundance, whatever it is that is calling forth an area of specific attention in life right here and right now, I hear the whisper of God. I hear the invitation to dance to the music of the sacred yes, to let go, to let love, to let God be God. And for this and so much more, I give thanks. Releasing this word into the law, which always says yes, I just allow it to be so. And we affirm this by saying, and so it is. Thank you and good morning. Thank you for your attendance this morning. Thank you very much. And now it is our opportunity to participate in the divine flow of life through our sacred commitment to giving. You know, we're in the practice of giving and receiving. So the gift of sharing physical coin, sharing prosperity, is an act of participating in the flow of abundance. And so our affirmation of abundance reads as this: I recognize the presence of God within as the source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. I release the visible substance and outer symbol of my inner supply into the physical world. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness, and so it is. And so for those of us anyone who may be new to our service today, these are the ways that you may experience and participate in the law of circulation. You may mail a check into the center. The address is on your screen. You may donate through our secure website, montereycsl.org, and you may also text your gift to 831 246 9694. And so to our Facebook family, I invite you to join us next week. And our topic is one more infinite connection. And so thank you to our Facebook family. We love you. We appreciate you. We thank God for you. And we will see you next week.